Hello everyone, this is Nalini, Assistant Professor at Maharani Science College for Women, Bengaluru, Department of Botany. In this session, I shall be covering the synthesis of amino acids. It is a very important topic in the nitrogen metabolism chapter. Let us see how the amino acid will be. The amino acids are the major biomolecules which are organic compounds that contain amino group and the carboxylic group. These are the two functional groups which can be seen in amino acids. And also we find a side chain that is R group which is specific for specific amino acids. The key element of the amino acids are carbon, hydrogen, oxygen and nitrogen. And also the side chain decides the amino acid type. About 500 naturally occurring amino acids are known as of 1983. Though only 20 amino acids are seen in the genetic code and can be classified, we can classify these 20 amino acids in many ways. In the form of proteins, amino acid residues form the second largest components. When compared to the water is the largest component in human muscles and other tissues, proteins makes the second largest components, especially the amino acid residues. Beyond their role as residues in proteins, amino acid participate in number of processes such as neurotransmitter transport and also biosynthesis. So amino acids are majorly neurotransmitter transport substances, and they are very important in the biosynthesis. And also we will see so many mechanisms are interdependent on amino acids, since amino acids are the monomers of many polypeptides or the proteins which are very much required as enzymes, hormones for all the biochemical reactions that takes place in the living organisms. Okay, let us see. They include the 22 proteinogenic or protein building amino acids which combine into polypeptides, that is the peptide chains to form the building blocks of vast array of proteins. There are nearly 22 proteogenic amino acids. There are these amino acids are all levo stereoisomers, that is left-handed isomers, although a few like dextrose amino acids like D-serine and some other antibodies. And also we can see 20 of the proteinogenic amino acids are encoded directly by triplet codons in the genetic code. Those 20 amino acids are taken as standard amino acids. The other two non-standard or non-canonical amino acids are selenocysteine, which is present in many prokaryotes as well as in most eukaryotes, but not coded directly by DNA, that is the selenocysteine, and pyrrolysine found in some archaea and primitive bacteria. And coming to the N-formyl methionine, which is often taken as the initial amino acid of proteins in bacteria, mitochondria and also chloroplasts. It is generally considered as the form of methionine. N-formyl methionine is a type of methionine rather than as the separate proteinogenic amino acids. Thus the count will come down. Then the codons, tRNA combinations not found in nature can also be used to expand genetic code and form novel proteins known as alloproteins incorporating non-proteinogenic amino acids. Amino acids are the basic units which combine to build up proteins. In this section, the biosynthesis of amino acid is discussed using ammonia and organic acids. How exactly amino acids are synthesized. So coming to the structure of the amino acids, we can see amino acid is containing one amino group and one carboxylic acid group. Next to carboxylic acid carbon atom, there will be R, that is the side chain that is attached to the amino acid. That's why they are called as alpha amino acids. Alpha amino acids are those where the side chain is R is attached to the carbon atom next to the carboxylic acid carbon atom. And based on this, the amino acids are classified into so many types like alpha, beta, gamma and delta amino acids. It is mainly by the core structural functional group where exactly it is attached. And other categories of classification relate to polarity, pH and side chain group type, that is whether it is aliphatic side chain, acyclic side chain, aromatic side chain, containing hydroxyl or sulfur groups, etc. Based on that the polarity and also the side chains, we also classify the amino acids into different types. And coming to the nutritional classification of amino acids, we all know, we have heard of essential and non-essential amino acids. Let's see which are the essential and which are the non-essential amino acids. Essential amino acids, they are also called as indispensable amino acids, cannot be synthesized by the body and have to be taken through our diet. Those amino acids include valine, isoleucine, leucine, lysine, methionine, phenylalanine, threonine and also tryptophan. And coming to the next one, that is semi-essential amino acids. These are the group of amino acids which are sometimes required. That's why they are called as conditionally essential amino acids. These are the growth promoters not synthesized in adequate amount in the body. And that includes two examples, that is arginine and histidine. Third one, that is non-essential or dispensable amino acids, can be synthesized in the body and may not be taken through our diet. Those are the non-essential amino acids. Those include glycine, alanine, serine, cysteine, arginine, glutamine, tyrosine and proline. See, these are the essential and non-essential amino acids. As botany learners, we must remember plants are capable of synthesizing all these 20 amino acids which are present in the genetic code. But only in mammals and other animals, some of the amino acids, nearly half of the amino acids are required through the external diet. Hence, they are called as essential amino acids. There are some exceptions. For example, this methionine, which is helping in the synthesis of cysteine. That is, methionine is going to transfer the sulfur group and helps in the formation of the cysteine. That's why cysteine comes under non-essential, but the methionine remains as a essential amino acid. And also this phenylalanine is very important in the production of the tyrosine. Tyrosine, phenylalanine gets hydroxylated and produces the tyrosine. So tyrosine is a non-essential and phenylalanine remains as the essential amino acid. And also one more thing here, arginine. Arginine is a conditionally essential amino acid because arginine will get synthesized in the body through the ornithine cycle and also urea cycle. We must take a note here. Urea cycle is a very important cycle in the nitrogen metabolism. Nitrogen metabolism, what is the role of urea cycle in the amino acid breakdown? That is a very familiar question in most of the competitive examinations. It is the central pathway. Urea cycle is the central pathway in the nitrogen metabolism. The urea cycle is a liver resident cycle wherein the process of removing the nitrogen in the form of ammonia that to be excreted from the body. That is the major thing that is going to take place inside the liver. So this urea cycle and also ornithine cycle they are going to synthesize this arginine in the body. So sometimes it is non-essential amino acids. That's why we call it as arginine and histidine, or the non-essential amino acids are conditionally essential amino acids. Sometimes they require, and most of the times they act as a non-essential amino acids. Coming to the schematic representation of the amino acid synthetic pathway. This picture is not so clear. I have taken this picture just to tell the precursors which are required in the amino acid synthesis. They come from the three major cycles. That is, one is the glycolytic cycle, and another one is the TCA or citric acid cycle. This citric acid cycle is a very important cycle in the biosynthesis of amino acids. Most of the components, intermediary products which are seen in these cycles are acting as the precursor for the amino acid synthesis. And also the one more pathway, that is the pentose phosphate pathway. In pentose phosphate pathway also, the intermediary compounds will act as the precursor for the synthesis of amino acids. Let us see here the pyruvate. Pyruvate is initial precursor for the formation of alanine and also phosphoenol pyruvic acid. It is also an important precursor in the formation of phosphoenol 3-phosphoglycerate is an important precursor in the formation of serine. From serine, actually the other two amino acids, that is cysteine and also the glycine, will be synthesized. Here serine is going to give the synthesis of glycine. And very importantly, in the presence of serine hydroxymethyl transferase enzyme, and where the transfer of the beta carbon TTF, that is tetrahydrofolate THF, that is going to take place during the synthesis of that is cysteine from the serine. That is how this particular 3-phosphoglycerate is going to become the precursor in the formation of these three amino acids. At the same time, we can also see pyruvate is very important for the production of alanine, and one more important precursor, that is phosphoenol pyruvic acid. Phosphoenol pyruvic acid is going to give three essential amino acids, and also the intermediates of the pentose phosphate pathway, that is erythrose and also ribulose 5-phosphate. Those two, this erythrose 4-phosphate and also ribulose phosphate, those two are very important in the production of some amino acids. Like erythrose is going to give the amino acids like tryptophan, phenylalanine, and also the proline. All these amino acids are also called as aromatic amino acids. And coming to the ribulose 5-phosphate of the pentose phosphate pathway, that is going to give important amino acid, that is histidine. Likewise, these three pathways, that is glycolytic pathway, TCA pathway, or tricarboxylic acid pathway, also called as Krebs cycle, and pentose phosphate pathway are very important in the production of amino acids. And also we can look here the synthesis of proline, alpha glutaric acid of the TCA cycle is contributing the formation of the precursor amino acid, that is glutamate. For the production of all other amino acids, other 20 amino acids, glutamine and glutamate, they are considered as the precursor amino acids. Through the reductive amination and also transamination reactions, very simple two reactions, that is reduction of the NADH2 group, which is going to add up one of the amino group to the pyruvate, and also that is alpha ketoglutarate is going to synthesize this glutamate, and we will see glutamine synthesis from the glutamate later. Let us concentrate here the proline production. Proline is produced from the glutamate, which has come from the alpha ketoglutarate of the TCA cycle. And this particular glutamate also helps in the production of ornithine, citrulline, and finally the arginine through the transamination reactions. And also it is going to give glutamine synthesis, and from glutamine one more pyrophosphate will be added, and the amino group will be added, and thus the formation of the very important amino acid, that is histidine. In the same manner, here oxaloacetic acid is going to give aspartate, as from aspartate, asparagine, and also the other series of amino acids, that is threonine, lysine, methionine, here leucine, valine, and isoleucines are synthesized, which for all these amino acids, here oxaloacetate of the TCA cycle is acting as a initial ingredient or precursor in the synthesis of amino acids. So please remember for all biosynthesis of amino acids, the three cycles, major cycles of the respiratory cycles are very essential, because the intermediates of these three cycles act as the precursors. So based on this, we can even classify the amino acid families, synthesis of essential amino acids. We can say aspartate family, pyruvate family, aromatic family, and histidine family. See, in aspartate family, which is responsible for the synthesis of all these amino acids, that is lysine, methionine, and threonine, etc., from the oxaloacetic acid as the precursor from the TCA cycle. And coming to the pyruvate family, it is important in the production of leucine, isoleucine, and valine. Aromatic family, as I already told, from precursor from the pentose phosphate pathway, that is erythrose 5-phosphate and also ribulose 5-phosphate, which are very important in the production of these three aromatic amino acids, that is phenylalanine, tyrosine, and tryptophan. And finally the histidine, which is synthesized from the glutamine, which has come from the alpha ketoglutaric acid, which is a very important keto acid from the citric acid cycle or tricarboxylic acid cycle. So thus we can classify them as aspartate family, pyruvate family, aromatic amino acid family, and also histidine biosynthetic family. Likewise, we can remember the essential amino acid production. And coming to the properties of important properties of amino acids. Amino acids are amphoteric in nature. That means at the same time they will be having two groups, that is amino group and carboxylic group. That's why they act both as acidic and also basic. That is the important characteristic feature of the amino acid, that is also called as amphoteric nature of the amino acids. Basically, all the amino acids are containing amino group and also carboxylic group. Along with that, the aliphatic aromatic or any other side chain attached to the alpha carbon atom of the amino group, that is the carbon atom next to the carboxylic acid carbon atom. It can be simple hydrogen or no cyclic or heterocyclic organic group. So based on the side chain the amino acids are majorly discriminated. Okay, that is how the properties. Let us see some other properties of amino acids at the fag end of this session. So we will concentrate now those two steps which are very essential in the formation of the essential amino acids, that is the reductive amination and transamination. Very importantly, reductive amination and transamination. Let us see reductive amination. Here organic acids get directly converted into amino acids. So it is a one-step phenomena. Amino acids by reacting with ammonia, that is by the addition of ammonia in the presence of the reducing agent, that is NADH2, under the influence of the enzyme that is dehydrogenase that is oxidoreductase enzyme is going to assist in this process, wherein we can see the formation of conversion of very many keto acids into amino acids by one step. Do many of the organic acids like oxaloacetic acid, fumaric acid, pyruvic acid can undergo direct amination to produce amino acids like aspartic acid, ASPARTAC, aspartic acid, alanine, etc. For the amination of the alpha ketoglutaric acid. So alpha ketoglutaric acid is a very important keto acid to produce the precursor amino acid, that is glutamic acid, which is of key importance as it provides a link between respiration and protein synthesis in plant metabolism. And the synthesis of this glutamic acid takes place when ammonia is accepted by this alpha ketoglutaric acid in presence of the NADH2 and also glutamic dehydrogenase enzyme. So it is a reduction process with the addition of the ammonia, hence it is called as reductive amination. And the fact that glutamic acid is the primary or precursor element for ammonia assimilation may be proved that the rapid assimilation of the labeled ammonia by glutamic acid. So how exactly the glutamic acid is the precursor agent, that they have studied by radio labeled isotope, that is N15 isotope, and how it is going to contribute to the production of the other amino acids in the biosynthetic pathway they have studied. Besides the formation of the glutamic acid, the other pathways of ammonia assimilation are alpha ketoglutaric acid plus NADPH2 plus ammonia, that is amination. In presence of glutamic dehydrogenase, we can see the production of glutamic acid, and the NADPH2 is framing NADP and water molecule. The others in the same manner, the one-step conversion of the keto acids to amino acid, that is oxaloacetic acid plus ammonia aspartic acid is obtained, and fumaric acid plus ammonia aspartic acid once again, and pyruvic acid plus ammonia is going to yield alanine. Likewise, reductive amination is going to give a continuous stream of amino acids which are produced from the precursor of the either glycolytic cycle, citric acid cycle, or the pentose phosphate pathway, wherein direct amination takes place in presence of the reducing agent, that is NADPH2. And coming to the next step in the biosynthetic pathway of the amino acid, that is a very simple step, that is transamination. Here only the transfer of the amino group from one amino acid to another amino acid, that will yield the required amino acid which is in demand for the continuous uptaking of the metabolic activities. So, transamination may be defined as the transfer of the amino group from an amino acid to carboxylic acid. And in this process, the amino acid becomes a carboxylic acid, and the carboxylic acid becomes the amino acid. So, the extra amino acid will be added. That is the transamination reaction. When once the key amino acid, that is glutamic acid, is produced, as I told, glutamic acid is the first amino acid that is produced, that will lead to the production of all other amino acids with the transamination reaction. It produces number of amino acids by the transamination reaction. According to Wilson et al. In 1954, all amino acids undergo transamination, in which glutamic acid is the key ruler, that is the precursor amino acid. Transamination is catalyzed by the enzyme. We all know it is transaminase enzyme. The following are the examples for the transamination reaction helpers are the enzymes. Together with transaminase, there are some important cofactors like pyridoxal phosphate and pyridoxamine phosphate, which are involved in the process. Since they are loosely attached to the apoenzyme group, they are also called as the coenzymes, organic in nature. Let us see the transamination reaction which is going to give the amino acids, interrelationship between alpha ketoglutarate, glutamate and glutamine. We can see the glutamate, that is the initial or the key amino acid. That amino acid will gives glutamine with the involvement of one inorganic phosphate and also the addition of the amino group. And then it is a reversible reaction by hydrolyzing the glutamine. We can get the once again the precursor amino acid, that is glutamate. Whenever the need is there for the glutamate, even the reversible reaction takes place. And from glutamate also alpha ketoglutarate will be produced by the reductive process in presence of glutamate dehydrogenase reductive amination. And once again it is going to give the other amino acids like the aspartate by transamination reaction utilizing the enzyme glutamate oxaloacetate transaminase. And once again we can see the production of very important neurotransmitter, that is gamma aminobutyric acid in the presence of glutamate decarboxylase enzyme, where the removal of the one carbon dioxide group takes place, and this is a very important compound which is found in most of the antibodies and antibiotics, which is going to act as neurotransmitter which will block the signals which comes from the brain, so that it will avoid the formation of certain unwanted materials in the body, which is very much used as a painkiller, and also it is used as a hypertensive drug to reduce the high blood pressure, and also it is a very important in the reduction of certain very quick reaction for certain allergies too. Yes, coming to some other examples of exactly the alanine in presence of alpha-ketoglutarate in presence of glutamate pyruvate transaminase. It is giving pyruvate and also glutamate. These are the two amino acids which are going to get interconverted, that is alanine and glutamate, by the transamination reaction. Here also the aspartate and the glutamate are the interconversible amino acids in the transamination reaction. So thus we must remember glutamic acid or glutamate is the initial or the key amino acid. Once it is synthesized, all other 20 amino acids will be synthesized very easily with the transamination reactions. Then coming to other interesting aspects of the amino acid, as I was telling, amino acids are the amphoteric compounds because at the same time they contain two ions, that is a positive ion and negative ion. Thus they act as both acidic and also basic. They show the acidic and basic properties due to the presence of this ionizable amino and carboxylic groups. Such amphoteric compounds, they are also going to show the amino acids with the two ionizable groups. At the same time, they carry two ions, that is ammonium ion and also ammonia ion, and acid group, which is going to give the carboxyl group, which is an anion, and amino group, which is a cation. So they are going to have the both the combination of two ions, that is oppositely charged ions, anion and cation. So such a property is called as a Zeterion property of amino acid. We can see some examples for the amino acid acting as a Zeterion with the amino and also carboxylic groups. Excuse me. And also one more example is citrulline. And let us see one more property, that is isoelectric point, where molecule carries no net electrical charge. Because both positive and negative ions are present, the charge gets neutralized and always it is going to be seen as a isoelectric point at neutral pH. That's why almost all the amino acids exhibit the property of the Zeterion isoelectric point, and also they are amphoteric in nature. Then coming to the conclusion, why amino acid study is important, amino acid synthesis is important, and also why we must consume the essential amino acids through our diet, because the amino acids are very much important, since they are the monomers for the production of all proteins, the polypeptides. So it is at most important in the protein synthesis. So amino acids are important in protein synthesis, cell signaling, acid base balance, and also in creating appetite, that is very important, and also body composition, since it is going to be involved in the production of muscles, tissues, etc., and also blood flow, it is important, growth and development, antioxidative defense is developed by the generation of some amino acids during the immunoreactions, and also energy substrates, immunity and health related aspects, and also osmoregulation of the bones and also muscles. And in the production of very important, that is polysaccharides, that is nucleic acids like DNA and RNA synthesis is also very important, because the nucleus, the mere composition of the DNA is also assisted by the presence of very important amino acids. And protein degradation, endocrine status, ammonia removal, like the urea cycle and also ornithine cycle, wherein the non-required amino acids will be removed in the form of the ammonia group from the very listed protein list. And coming to the metabolic regulation, pigmentation, metamorphosis, reproduction, lactation, stress response, behavioral connected the proteins, all these are synthesized only within the presence of amino acids. So the amino acid synthesis is a very important phenomena in the normal health of the organism. In plants, all the 20 amino acids of the genetic code will be synthesized, but in animals and mammals, these only 10 of the amino acids are synthesized. Other 10 must be consumed through the diet. This is the amino acid biosynthetic pathway, and how exactly here other metabolic pathways like of cellular respiration or respiratory pathways like glycolysis, tricarboxylic acid cycle, and also pentose phosphate pathway will provide the intermediates of those pathways as the precursor for the generation of amino acids must be remembered. This completes the session, and these are some of the references you can go through. So this is a very important topic in the nitrogen metabolism. Please revise, and happy learning.